Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're looking at a really interesting lecture note. It connects national policy with a specific sort of grassroots movement in education.
That's right.
Our source is titled Strategic Alignment Teacher Empowered Assessment Movement Team and the Executive Order on Advancing AI Education for American Youth. It's by Jae Choi from George Washington University, who also invented the CAFA platform. That's pronounced STEP.
Exactly. And what this note does, essentially, is argue that this team movement, that's teacher-empowered assessment movement, lines up really well strategically with a big national policy.
Which is that executive order from April 2025.
Correct. The one focused on boosting AI education for young Americans.
Okay, let's unpack this then. For this deep dive, our mission is to get a handle on the main goals of both the executive order and this team movement. See where they overlap, and look at the actual plan the note proposes for how they could, work together. And why should you care? Well, because this really gets to the core of how AI might actually show up in schools, maybe your kids' schools, maybe your own learning, and who's driving that change.
Precisely. It's about understanding this vision for creating an AI-literate generation. And critically, what role educators might play moving beyond just using the tools. To
actually shaping them.
Exactly, to actually shaping and creating them.
Okay, let's start big picture then. This executive order on advancing AI education for American youth, what's the main thrust?
Well, the source describes it as a pretty major national commitment. It establishes a clear policy goal, promoting AI literacy and proficiency right across the U.S.
And what are some of the key aims mentioned?
The big ones are fostering AI competency in young people, definitely, preparing students for the future workforce.
It makes sense.
And nurturing that next wave of AI innovators. But a really significant piece, according to the note, is the emphasis on investing in educators.
Investing in teachers. That sounds vital.
Yeah.
What does the order specifically say about that? How are they supporting teachers?
Yeah, it specifically calls out enhancing AI training for educators, making AI a priority in teacher training programs, in research, professional development, all that.
So getting teachers up to speed.
Right. And it also talks about integrating AI appropriately into education, not just throwing tech at the wall and getting kids exposed to AI concepts early on.
And the note mentioned some specific structures too, didn't it? A task force, a challenge.
Yes, exactly. It sets up an AI education task force to kind of coordinate all the federal efforts, make sure everyone's pulling in the same direction.
Okay.
And it launches a presidential AI challenge. That's meant to encourage students and educators to achieve things in AI, get some excitement going.
Like a competition.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
Encouraging achievement. It also mentions improving education through AI via partnerships, public-private ones, and using existing federal resources better. It's really a national call to action, hitting it from multiple angles.
Okay, so that's the national framework set out by the government. Now let's pivot to this other element, the teacher-empowered assessment movement, or TEAM. What's the core philosophy there?
TEAM is framed as a real paradigm shift. The central idea is teacher agency.
Agency?
Yeah, putting educators in the driver's seat. Not just as people who use educational tools someone else made, but as active creators, designers, decision makers in developing AI-powered tools for the classroom. The note has a great phrase for it.
Which is?
From tool user to tool maker.
From tool user to tool maker. Wow, okay. That definitely changes the perspective. What else is key to TEAM?
It really pushes for decentralized solutions, teacher-driven, letting innovation happen locally, tailored to what specific classrooms actually need.
Instead of one size fits all.
Exactly. And it focuses heavily on AI literacy and practical skills for teachers, equipping them to meaningfully use AI, integrate it, and even, co-create simple AI agents themselves.
And it's connected to that CAFA thing you mentioned?
Yes. TEAM is described as a key part of the wider collective AI on the foundation AI, or CAFAscape ecosystem. And a big emphasis within that ecosystem is on ethical, human-centered AI.
Meaning?
Meaning things like transparency, clarity on data ownership, and fundamentally making sure the technology serves human values and educational goals, not the other way around.
The source also mentioned knowledge engineering and something called Korea. What's that about?
Right. Knowledge engineering is basically where teachers take their expertise, what they know about teaching, their subject, how students learn and structure it so an AI can understand and use it.
So they're organizing their knowledge for the AI.
Exactly. They become like architects of digital educational knowledge.
Yeah.
And initiatives like Korea are part of that. They provide structured ways, like standardized formats, for representing that knowledge. Think of it like a common language.
Okay.
And TEAM aims for holistic integration, too. Not just AI for, say, assessment, but potentially for TA chatbots or intelligent tools to help manage the classroom.
Now, this is where the note really connects the dots, right? The strategic alignment between team and the executive order.
Absolutely. This is the core argument. The lecture note makes a really strong case that there are powerful synergies here.
How so? What makes team such a good fit for what the executive order is trying to achieve?
Well, Team's fundamental mission, empowering teachers to create AI-driven learning, directly feeds into the EO's goals of building AI competency and foundational knowledge in students.
Because the teachers are building it right into the learning.
Precisely. If teachers create the experiences, they can embed those competencies much more effectively. And remember, the EO's call to invest in educators.
Yeah, the training and development.
Team's whole approach is that investment. It's built around comprehensive training, AI literacy for teachers, providing platforms like CAFA Talk for them to actually build things. It directly answers that call to equip educators.
So team isn't just about using AI passively, but actively preparing teachers to shape how AI gets used and even developed in schools.
Exactly. And this teacher-led design, which Team champions, helps ensure AI integration is pedagogically sound. It actually makes sense for teaching and learning.
And ethical, too.
And ethical, yes, which aligns perfectly with the EO's points about appropriate integration and early exposure.
What about that presidential AI challenge you mentioned? How does team fit with that?
Well, the note suggests a couple of things. Team-trained educators could be great mentors for student teams taking part in the challenge.
Makes sense.
And that whole tool maker philosophy could inspire students to come up with really innovative projects, creating AI solutions, not just using them. Team could even give input on challenge themes or how projects are judged.
Interesting.
And furthermore, thinking about the EO's goal of improving education through AI, the note argues Team, with CAFA and its network, is kind of ready-made.
Ready-made how?
As a partner for developing and sharing high-quality K-12 AI resources developed by teachers, tested in classrooms. And that focus on structured knowledge, like Korea, is important for making sure those resources are robust and usable.
Okay, so the note sees the alignment, but it doesn't stop there, right? It actually lays out a plan.
Yes, it proposes a strategic plan, broken down into phases. Phase 1 is called foundation and capacity building.
Laying the groundwork.
Exactly. And the key action here is to formalize Team's training program and offer it nationally, scale it up.
So rolling out that teacher training becomes a priority.
That's the idea. The plan suggests working with, say, the Department of Education, maybe the NSF, to align the curriculum with national standards and get it officially recognized.
Okay.
Another key action early on, actively engaging with that White House AI Education Task Force.
To make sure the teacher's perspective is heard.
Precisely. To provide that crucial teacher-centric input right from the beginning of the national planning process.
And what happens after that initial phase?
Phase 2 shifts to scaling and integration. A big action item here is leading the development and sharing of K-12 AI educational resources.
Using the CAFA Talk platform and the teachers.
Exactly. Leveraging the platform and the network of trained educators to co-create tools, content, lesson plans, and share them widely. Sort of building a library of teacher-made resources.
And it also mentioned hubs.
Yes, establishing regional team hubs. Think of them as local centers for training, ongoing support, collaboration among teachers in a specific area.
Creating local ecosystems for this teacher innovation.
That's the concept. And then phase 3 looks longer term, sustained impact.
Keeping it going.
Right. This includes things like integrating team principles and these AI tool-making skills into university programs that train new teachers.
So new teachers come in already having these skills.
That's the goal. Making it part of standard teacher prep and also fostering and strengthening that national network of team educators, creating a real community of practice that supports itself.
This sounds like a really comprehensive, maybe quite ambitious plan. What does the note say needs to happen for this to actually work? What are the critical success factors?
Yeah, it highlights several key things. First, strong collaboration is absolutely essential. Between team, government agencies, federal, state, local industry partners, universities, philanthropic groups. It has to be a joint effort. It can't succeed in a silo. Funding, obviously, is critical too. Sustained investment is needed for the training, for maintaining and developing the CAFA platform, for building out those knowledge bases like Korea. It needs adequate resources.
Makes sense. What else?
A really strong, consistent commitment to ethical AI. that needs to be woven through everything they do.
Non-negotiable.
Absolutely. And policy support is crucial from all levels of government. Policies that genuinely recognize and value teacher agency in how AI is used and developed in education. And finally, you need the infrastructure. Scalable platforms like CAFA Talk that can actually handle a large network of teachers creating and sharing. Prioritizing that structured knowledge, like Korea, is also vital to make the AI effective. And maybe underlying all of it is a cultural shift.
A cultural shift.
Yeah, a real shift towards genuinely recognizing and supporting teachers, not just as people who deliver instruction, but as innovators, as leaders in this new AI landscape. So when you dive into this lecture note, it really presents a compelling argument, doesn't it? That the national vision for AI education in the executive order and this teacher-empowering philosophy of team, backed by tools like CAFA Talk and knowledge structures like Korea, aren't just parallel tracks.
They're strategically aligned.
Exactly. The argument is they're strategically aligned for a potentially very powerful future in American education.
It paints this picture where teachers aren't just, adapting to AI as it comes along, but are really active participants, shaping it for their own classrooms, for their own students.
Right. Which, the hope is, leads to a more human-centered, maybe more effective integration of AI into learning.
More grounded in actual teaching practice.
Precisely. By focusing on empowering educators from the ground up, making them tool makers, the plan aims to build AI literacy and innovation right there in the classroom. Preparing students not just to be users of AI,
But potentially creators, too.
but potentially contributors to its future.
So thinking about all this, what does it mean for you, our listener? It really raises a fundamental question, I think. In an AI-driven future, just how central should the role of the teacher be? Not just as an instructor, but as a creator, an innovator, someone who actively shapes the very digital tools and knowledge that our students engage with every single day.